But you never know that you could. And when you feel that way, ain't it good, good dancing in the red and gold. Dancing in the red and gold.
What's up, Faithful? Welcome to another episode of the 49er Faithful UK Live. Episode number 13. I'm Paul Hope.
And I'm Nick Ludlham.
Well, Faithful, we are another week closer to meaningful football. However, before you all get excited, there's still a little way to go. That said, we've got through the first stages of free agency. The draft is around the corner, Nick. And you know, me and you always love to come on and chat all things Niners with these wonderful people on a Tuesday night in the UK, a Tuesday lunchtime in California, or whatever time you're tuning in to watch me and Nick talk all things Niners. But before we get started, how are you doing tonight, buddy?
Yeah, not too bad. It's been a bit busy the last fortnight. Well, for me at least anyway. I know it's been quiet on Niners front, but yeah, obviously treatment for the MS. Got me Packers mate down the aisle, got him all married. And I will give him a little cheeky shout out because I did tweet out about my 49ers cufflinks. They were actually my best man present from Russ and Tash. They are currently in New York. So if for some odd reason they're taking an hour out of their honeymoon, guys, I hope you have an amazing time. Thanks for having me down. It was an absolute honor to be your best man, Russ. Get on, mate. And of course, then starting a new job today. So it's been all rather busy, to be honest, for me, mate. How about you?
Well, I've been getting dizzy keeping up with you on social media, so do have to say you screwed up rather well, Nick. That suit was rather epic. I thought it was missing a little final touch, and then I saw the tweet with the cufflinks. Now, I did think you'd bought them yourself, and I was having a cheeky smile, but no, I'm glad it went well for you, buddy. I know you'd put a lot into the speech, even though he's a Packers fan. He had good taste in selecting you as his right-hand man. And new job today, Nick. It is all going on, buddy, your end.
It's all been a bit mental, really, yeah.
So we've been joined by some regulars. So I'll give a couple of shout-outs before we start. Brett Sinclair will be watching from the Candlestick Inn. David, evening, guys. Finally managed to tune in live this week. Really appreciate it, David. Colin, you've been very busy on all the chats. I've seen you doing those super chats for Breezy, Chapman. So it's good that you've joined little old me and Mr. Ludlham live on a Tuesday. Good evening, Jason.
Evening,
and
mate.
Rob is representing from New York City. Now,
get on, Rob.
As you said at the start there, Nick, it's been a little bit quiet on Niners news. And I made some notes, everybody, before we went live. And there was one thing that I forgot to mention. So we're going to start because Nick reminded me. Club 85 was well represented, Nick, at a sporting event across the pond. Do you want to tell these good people more about it?
That's it, man. I mean, let's be honest. George Kittle is living his absolute best life. You can see it with a smile on his face when I don't know who the guy. I'll be honest. I'm not a WWE fan, but his appearance at WrestleMania was pretty awesome. Obviously, he's backing up another NFL legend, okay? Never a Niner, but Pat McAfee is very entertaining to watch. And obviously, clotheslining this other guy, absolutely dropped him dead. Back in the ring for Pat McAfee to take up the win. I mean, it was awesome to see. I think he was actually out there as well with two other Niners. I'm sure I saw Hufanga and Travarius Ward.
Yeah.
It was a trio of them there, playing around with chairs or something as well in the aisles, they're having a ball. They know they haven't got to do too much right now. They're unlikely to lose their jobs, any of them. All three of them were absolutely phenomenal last year. But how can you not love George Kittle? How can you not? The man's awesome.
Is it wrong of me that when I saw the footage, my first thought, get my words out, was, please don't get injured. I know it's all entertainment. He did a cheeky little clothesline. But to be fair, one thing that I love about our team, and it's well documented, I absorb all the content during my work lunch today. I was watching Kittle on Bussing with the Boys. He was talking about WrestleMania. He was talking about Tight End University. He was talking about his 4th straight season with QB controversy. And I think he's trying his hardest to get the tackle from the Titans who hosts that to come and play for the Niners. But what I liked about it was the tackle was, I play left tackle. And you've got the best one that's ever played. And Kittle, seeing him in that environment, Nick, where he was adding that human touch. And we've started with Kittle, everybody, because we're going to link it back into football. So you'll have seen, Nick, that the NFL are proposing a second Thursday game. So as it stands at the moment, teams only play once on a Thursday night, which for us good people in the UK is a godsend, because Thursday night football is like a 1:15 a.m. start, which means a long day on the Friday. And Kittle's come out as a voice for the players, Nick, and said he's not a fan. He doesn't want the 2 Thursdays. Now, the league are trying to propose it, buddy, where you'd get that 10 days. They're saying you'd get 2 lots of 10 days. So when you play on a Thursday night, you don't then tend to play till the following Sunday, which is like a 10-day break. That's how the league are trying to sell it. But as Kittle pointed out, sometimes you play the Sunday and then you play on the Thursday. So Kittle said to do that twice a season would take away from what you put in. You know, football's a physical game. What's your thoughts? Do you agree with George? Or do you think you should just get on with it?
It's stupid. Absolutely stupid. There's no way they should be putting a second Thursday game in there. Like you said, it's dangerous for the players. And so when they increase the amount of regular season games in the league, I said at the time, they've missed the trick. When they increased it, they should have put a second bye week in. It should have made it a 19-week season. So you've still got 17 games, but you've got 2 bye weeks. All it's going to do is help the players. Now, the NFL is well documented in saying they want to protect their product. They want to protect what they're putting on TV. Well, you're not protecting these guys particularly well if you're making them do this. You look at the sheer volume of injuries that there are every single year. And now you're going to ask players to, like you said, twice a year, they're going to be playing with 4 days apart. It can't be done. It's the stupidest idea. Absolutely ridiculous.
Now, I thought it was interesting that the commissioner came out, Nick, and said it's nothing to do with money. It's nothing to do with Amazon complaining that the Thursday night games were poor. Now, I'll be honest, I don't stay up live for the Thursday games unless it's the Niners. I watch back the next day. I'm not particularly interested in the results. But if it's the Niners, I stay up. Much to Tracy's delight when I circle that Thursday night on the calendar and then the Friday off work. Now, for what those good people at home watching don't know, I've just thrown that on Nick. We weren't going to start with that tonight. I'd given Nick a different schedule. But when you mentioned Kittle, you mentioned Kittle 30 seconds before I went live. And I was like, how can I miss Kittle at WrestleMania? And I've just watched him at dinner time talking about it. But I thought it linked quite well with the Thursday night game because that's obviously for a team like ours that's a contender, it is something you have to think about. You know, we all love doing our bold predictions. You know, the Niners are going to go 17-0, they're going to win the Super Bowl. But if you throw in those 2 Thursday games, and now what I was going to start the show with tonight links in even better, Nick. So everybody who is watching will probably be aware that El Presidente put together a rather cruel April Fool's Day trick. So this was 4 weeks in the planning, everybody. So Mr. Gowland is an expert on Photoshop, and he took a picture of 54 Fred Warner. He put the 49erFaithfulUK patch on the jersey, and we tweeted that out on the group that the Niners were coming to London. Now, obviously, it was a bit tongue-in-cheek. It was a bit wishful thinking. Now, what I did get surprised at, Nick, and why I wanted to start with this, was I thought that we'd have 100% take-up in the 49erFaithfulUK with the Niners coming to London to play the Jags as the road team. And I was quite surprised to actually see the opposite in the group. There were some people who have actually come out and said, Paul, let's be realistic. We don't want the Niners to come to London. There'd be an away team, given the second Thursday night game, given the travel. Now, that got me thinking, buddy. I'm hoping that you're on the same page as me, because surely every UK faithful wants the Niners at Wembley to play the Jags. Surely.
Yes. it makes sense. Let's look at it this way, right? If the Niners are giving up a home game, they're playing at Wembley, they're pretty much also giving up home field advantage. I've been to Wembley games. I've been to Niners games at Levi's. I can promise you, you will not get the atmosphere. You will not get the crowd intimidation that you will get at Levi's for that home game. Losing the home game is a big one. It's massive. When you lose that ability to turn on the opposition's offense, to really get that noise up. When we were out there, I know Lee's in the comments. I just seen him. Obviously, when we were out there in the gold mine, the noise is phenomenal. And the first thing we're told when we get in there by Nick Clark is, guys, you're going to work today. You are going to be screaming. If you don't leave this place hoarse, I haven't done my job. And fair play, we left hoarse. All of us, the voices were rocking by the end of the evening. You lose that by being the home team at Wembley. You lose it because there are so many neutral fans. You won't have 60,000 49ers fans at that game. So if you're the away team, you haven't got that to contend against. Now, that's a huge thing over the course of that match. That means the match, in theory, is easier. All right, you've still got to contend with the fact you've had to fly from all the way from the west coast of the United States over to London. It's a long old journey, but it makes the game easier when you're there. It's better as an away team, and you still haven't given up any of that home field advantage.
So, Mr. Gowland stole my thunder, reminding everyone El Presidente is in the house, Nick. So he's actually on his hollybobs. He's flown off to sunnier climates. He's left the 49er Faithful UK in my hands. As vice president, I'm in charge of the group, and I thought, Lee won't be watching tonight. His missus will have him with a sangria, but here he is. Evening, guys. I'm sure the show is excellent. Can't hear because of where I'm at, but you guys rock. So considering he can't hear, his lip reading must be brilliant, because he's jumped on the comments and he's put there that the people that are disagreeing don't understand the marketing dynamic and how it'll benefit the Niners. I think he was kind of disagreeing with you a little bit here, Nick, where he was saying that not this year to be the road team, but we'd get the extra opportunity at leveraging the UK marketing rights by coming back next year. And I think that's the point I was trying to make in the group when the comments were, Paul, be realistic. Now, we welcome healthy debate in the 49er Faithful UK. And I was, as I said to you there, Nick, surprised that some people were actually saying we don't want it. And I was pointing out, we've got the marketing rights. Yeah. The Jags are technically the UK team, but what better way to show them up by painting the stadium red and gold? Imagine the meet-up. Imagine the meet-up in London on the Saturday night before the game on the Sunday. And like Lee said, Nick Clark and the team be able to go back to the NFL and back to the Niners and say, that home game next year that you're worried about giving up, you don't need to be worried about giving up. The boys in the UK will bring the fire. So for me, that was where we linked in, where we were going tonight. And I'll be honest with you, Nick, this was going to be my would you rather until the comments in the group. My would you rather was going to be, would you rather go to watch the Jags at the Jags in Florida, or would you rather be here at Wembley? Now, as soon as I started to write it down, I thought, you're an idiot, Paul. That man is far too evil for you, for that to be your would you rather. So you're not getting off that easily tonight, buddy. So before we move on, Nick, catching up on the chat. So we've got Rob D dropping in, the People's tight end.
Always. Dan,
Kittle 316. Now,
Absolutely.
Ted was agreeing with me and you on the Thursday talk because I seen that come in. Nick Garfoot has put, he doesn't think the Thursday night game, he thinks the Thursday night game is brutal. Shouldn't be hammering in. Rob D agrees with George, simply so he doesn't clothesline him. I agree with you, Rob. It was a pretty epic clothesline. Jumping on what we said about Amazon, Rob has put there that, okay, Amazon does Thursday night football, but it's not about money. We know that's not quite true. And then I'm pretty sure Rob's put another one about over in the States, that stadium gambling was passed, but that's not about the money either. And we are joined by a supporter of ours who's been here since day one.
How are you doing, Luke?
Luke Walsh.
You know
Good to
me?
see you, buddy. So, yeah, Nick, as I said, going back to my script, that was going to be my Would You Rather. Now, it will be interesting to see when the schedule is released, whether the Niners do come to Wembley. I do think the NFL would be missing a trick, personally, if we're not given the that game as the road team. Like you said, the mother of all meetups. I'm getting excited thinking about it.
It would. It would. The Niners want to be building on what they built, what they did last year. Why do you want to take a step backwards?
So, again, people might think me and Nick just kind of throw this show together. Lee has thrown a comment in there. Nick would be proud. Just taught the waitress on the cruise how to make a golden mule.
Good lad. I shall be having one of them later.
Explain what this is to some people who may not know.
All right, the golden mule. Obviously, it's for the people joining us from San Francisco, way out in California, been to games. You've got the Gold Bar Whiskey Bar at the stadium. So you go in there, you get yourself your golden mule. It's basically a double Gold Bar whiskey. Although I suppose you could use other whiskeys, but it's not really a golden mule then, is it? Ginger beer, lime, and mint. No shaky. Just in, give it a spin, down the hatch.
See, the last time Mr. Gowland went on holiday with Andrea, it was on a cruise, and he scrubbed up rather well himself, El Presidente. I'm pretty sure 007 had a run for his money. So as soon as you started talking there, I thought, Lee's got to be a shaken but not stirred man. But that's what a golden mule is. Moving on before we lose any viewers, Luke has put Thursday night games are brutal for the players. It's also unfair to the Western teams that have to travel. Now, to be fair, Luke, I understand that's where some people's criticism was in the group at the weekend, Nick. So for those people who may not be members of our Facebook group, this is where this happened. So Lee got a bit giddy and dropped the post about an hour earlier than I was expecting. I woke up on Saturday morning to a load of texts about the Photoshop jersey. Was it going ahead? I'd mocked up a tweet that Mr. Watson spoilt because he was like, it's not on Twitter. I was like, stop looking on Twitter, Mr. Watson. My Photoshop skills were there. But I could understand some people's criticism, Nick. What they were saying is, as supporters of this team and to make a run at the Super Bowl, we want everything to go in our favour. But the UK fan in me, I can't get on board with that, Nick. I want to see us at Wembley. And I'm going to keep tweeting it out. I don't know if you saw our good friend John Chapman had tweeted out what was your favourite game of the season last year and which game are you looking forward to this year. And straight away I was like, London. and he agreed. Now, it will be awesome if you think all the content creators will come across the pond. They'll be coming to London. We'll be all partying with them. The lives, the streams, they're all going to be from London. It's going to be absolutely awesome. So for those people who disagreed with my opinion in the group, I respect your opinion, but humbly, I hope you're wrong. And when that schedule gets announced, me and Nick have already talked about some plans.
Week off work. Week off work. I'm going to spend the week in London. Why not?
He means the weekend, Tracy. He didn't say week. He said the weekend. Now,
that's all right. New job. I work there a little bit. That's what it is, Tracy. Don't worry.
Oh, we proved last week she's an avid watcher, because when I talked to her about Would You Rather and she said, do you do this every week? I was like, I'll pretend you didn't say that. Now, Colin has jumped in with like a Moscow mule, but he's not sure about the whiskey.
Essentially, yeah.
Lee has jumped back in. They didn't know how to make a Vespa. All right, Lee. I'm sure you suffered with the golden mule. And Luke has jumped on there and put that he would love to see the 49ers play in London. David has just joined in the comments there. He's hoping the 49ers do come to Wembley. Levi's is pretty much out of reach as a family holiday has to come first. The missus has said we could do London if it's confirmed. So that was another thing that got me thinking on this topic, Nick. So obviously, family man like David, we've got a couple of family holidays planned. Levi's is out of reach, as is the offer that you'll have saw posted earlier in the group, but we'll get to that in a minute. But like you said, David, I think there's a lot of us have got the weekend pass from her indoors who controls the purse strings. I know mine's guaranteed. She's already said if they get announced to London, you can go. And I do think that, like, I'm excited for the weekend, Nick. I'm not just excited for the game. I'm excited. Wembley. I haven't done an international series game for various different reasons. And I know the stadium at Tottenham is supposed to be custom built for the NFL. But people who have been to both have told me Wembley's better. And that's another reason why I'd like to see us go as a road team, because I'd love to go do the walk down Wembley Way. I'd love to see the flags. I'd love to see all our flags as you walk down Wembley Way. And I'm getting goosebumps talking about it, to be honest.
It's a lot of fun.
So,
it is a lot of fun. It's very, very different to going out to a game stateside. It is a very different atmosphere because you have got all 32 teams represented, but it's still a good laugh. You know, there's no nastiness, there's no animosity. It is a real good laugh. Just going over kind of sport the London games for me. So now London games for me are, if the Niners aren't involved, I'm not going, kind of thing, really.
yeah. So David's put there that the NFL is dying to be more global. Basketball and soccer are king globally. And Glyn Hughes has joined us and put, it's been a while since we were in London. And to be fair, Glyn, it's my biggest regret. I didn't go when Kaepernick played the Jags 2013. I looked at it, new father, my daughter was only 6 months old, finances at the time, living in the North East, weren't the greatest. And I thought, they'll be back. I thought they'd come every year, to be honest. I'd only been watching the sport about 18 months. And it's been a long wait. And then obviously life changes, new partner. And like you said, when I got with Tracy in 2018, the first thing I said to her, Nick, was, I love the 49ers. 1, if you ever come to London, I'm going. 2, I want to go to Levi's. And she's like, where's Levi's? I was like, oh, it's about 5,000 miles away. Just in a little place called California. You'll be all right. So Lee has jumped in there that Wembley is more accessible. It's not necessarily better, which is, I think, the point I was trying to make, is that the facilities within the stadium were excellent, but the prices outside the stadium and getting to the stadium was a pain. And that's why I want to have that Wembley experience, because everybody that I've spoken to has said the fact of getting to Wembley is easier, the milling around outside Wembley, and then after the game, because we all know the 49er Faithful UK love to party. And we know that when the likes of Breezy, Chapman, Aponte, they're all coming across the pond, Nick, we're going to have to show them how it's done.
Oh, we'll be heading somewhere after the game. Let's be honest. We'll be packing somewhere out. Someone's going to make a lot of money from our team, from our little group after that game. That's for sure.
So Dan has put, he was at the Washington-Cincinnati tie game at Wembley a few years back. Desperate to see the Niners play. Please let it be this year. Glyn again. He's seen them against the Broncos and the Jags. Spurs in the future would be nice. And selfishly for me, Glyn, that's why I hope it's Wembley this year, home game at Tottenham next year. And what I have seen coming out from across the pond, Nick, is a lot of the big content creators do want that game to happen. Yeah. So it's not as if there's a lot of animosity for it across the pond. I do think the extra game helps. So I know my friend, who's a Packers fan, was over the moon that he got to go see the Packers play against the Giants. And a couple of years ago, that never would have happened. But the extra game has allowed that to happen. There's a comment just popped up. I'm going to put it up because David's a big friend of the show. But for you Leeds United fans out there, you might start to panic. So perhaps Jed York wants to have a game at the Leeds home stadium. Now,
no.
To be fair, Nick, it's not big enough. The pitch isn't big enough.
It's
the facility's not big enough. We know that. But for the in-joke is when the Niners announced the meetups in Leeds. I saw a few comments on the Leeds United social media post that some of the fans weren't as keen. Apparently, the feedback we've had is the colour red isn't great, but that's not our worry.
I've heard that. I'm not going to lie. I'm not a Leeds United fan, and seeing Ellen Road decked out in red, I think would actually be quite funny. But I can see why there is a large section of people who would not like that, and I wouldn't, considering their loves and hates. So that's fair enough.
So Nick, your would you rather last week featured the Rams, and it looks like they've come back now. Ramelia,
why?
Yeah, chat is a little bit out of date, buddy, because the last time I checked, the Kansas City Chiefs were the champs. Granted, you did get your one Super Bowl, buddy, and you've come into the chat. I appreciate the banter. I appreciate the support. You are the first person in the world that has tried to give me and Nick a super chat. For those people who may not know,
Indeed.
some of the big hitters, you can pay to have your comments put on the screen, but we're nowhere near that level. We just show you guys the love. Rob has put in the comments there that he praised that the Niners never come back to play New York. Actually, New Jersey last time they did the turf, decimated their team.
Tear MetLife down. Tear MetLife down. Get rid of it. Demolish it. Do whatever you want to it. I never want to see the Niners play there again.
Now, Ramelia is trying to goad. He's put a rebuild since 1994. We appreciate you stopping by. The Rams content creators definitely are non-existent because I haven't seen any of them on Twitter, but I do appreciate you showing us the love. Now, before
Those
we
5 Super Bowl rings. Yeah.
However, before we move on, everybody, I teased a little announcement earlier. So El Presidente dropped a message on the 49er Faithful UK group earlier today. So if you're part of the 49er Faithful UK on Facebook, you'll have seen it. So we have been invited to the draft again this year. So that's going to be in Kansas City. Now, I'm already on record to say there's no chance I get that trip authorised, Nick. I'm guessing with your new job and with...
Yeah, I wish. 1 year.
So, again, the reason I mentioned that, everybody, is we're hoping that we'll be represented at the draft again. We're just trying to see whether, obviously, the tickets come from the Niners, but the cost of getting over to the States has to be covered by the individual. So, Lee is on his holiday at the moment. Stand by if we do get some representation out there. The flag will be flying. The posts will be on social media. And the pressure will be on me to get us trending again like I did last year. Indeed. Wayne has joined the chat. Now, I think he's aimed this at you, Nick, because I'm known for being quiet.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah. Quiet old soul is our Paul.
Now, Wayne. And Lee has put, he can't imagine why Jed York would want a game at Ellen Road. The capacity isn't great. It doesn't offer the best opportunity to get the maximum number of Niners fans into the stadium. Now, if we'd filmed this on April Fool's Day, we could have timed it where we said Ellen Road's getting pulled down and they're putting a new super stadium up and it's going to be all red and gold. But obviously, we've missed a trick there.
Could tell them it's going to be at Old Trafford.
Ramelia's come back. We appreciate the support.
Cheers, man.
Luke Walsh has put that. Jed York just said the 49ers have cloned Brian Clough. Will be the 49ers new media.
I'm not sure that would be the greatest idea, I must be honest. Oh, Brian wasn't the most PC of gentlemen. Phenomenal football manager, but...
So, the post I alluded to, keep that in mind because you're going to laugh when I put the next comment on post. So, Nadji did step in earlier and said that the cravat of going out is you had to represent the group well and you can't get wasted. So Brett Sinclair has been Anderson put, rules me out, lads.
Honestly.
So, Nick, 29 minutes in, we've jumped around a little bit. Now, we're not going to jump to the would you rather just yet. Hold your horses. There is some QB talk that I wanted to touch upon tonight. So tonight is episode 13. As soon as I saw it was the 13th episode, you can't help but think QB1, Brock Purdy, or, as John Lynch would say, leader of the clubhouse.
Indeed.
So what did you make of Mr. Lynch coming out and saying that Purdy was the leader of the clubhouse?
I think given what's been going on now for about a week, it's no longer a surprise. You know, the first time it was said, I was a bit shocked. I was half expecting a bit more. I was expecting it to be a bit more coy about the whole thing. But they haven't. They've just come out and said. I mean, the only real controversy that seems to be coming about is the potential that Sam Darnold might start the season. You know, they haven't shied away from that being a possibility by all accounts. But this is Brock Purdy's team. 100%. And that's how John and Carl see it. This is Brock Purdy's team going forward, and I do feel for Trey. He has had the worst luck, the absolute worst luck. But he's going to have to do something really quite phenomenal, I think, to oust Brock as QB1.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't surprised when I saw the comments. I mean, if you think back to what I said at the start of the show, Kittle said 4 years in a row, QB controversy. Now, Kittle's wish was quite simple. He said Brock was QB1, was on an 8-game winning streak. He said, I'd just love to have that QB in pre-season so I could work with him, so I could get the passes. He was also very kind in his praise of Trey Lance. He also tipped a nod to Sam Darnold. And like I've seen, at the moment, as it stands, we've got Trey and Sam Darnold. So I do believe that we'll pick up another couple of quarterbacks, whether that's we draft one and we pick up a free agent. But I think we go into camp with 4. Now, Brock is out of the equation. Now, this time last year, the Niners were very coy about trade Jimmy. And, you know, every Niners fan head was spinning. And you think this year, Lynch has come out and said Brock's QB1. And people are losing their minds. And they're like, oh, my God, how can you say he's QB1? And you think, this time last year, you were wanting the Niners to hang the hat on someone. And like you've said, Nick, he is the leader of the clubhouse. If they were all fit right at this moment in time, Brock would be QB1 based on what he did last year. Yeah. Like you said, I was quite well saying that Darnold was going to be brought in to be QB3. But like you've said, I've watched some of the shows, I've seen some of the interviews, and I'm not so sure now as I was a couple of weeks ago when me and you had this chat on here. Yeah. I'm not so sure, to be fair, buddy.
It's looking ropey, isn't it? I said I'm sticking by the whole I don't want Sam Darnold playing. I want it to be Trey Lance. I do. I do believe it is Brock Purdy's team moving forward, but I don't think Trey is going to do enough to oust Brock as QB1. Therefore, I want Trey to do as well as possible, if nothing else, but to increase his trade value.
Yeah.
You know, I hope the lad does well. This isn't a case of I dislike the man. I think there's a lot of people are putting a lot of hatred towards this whole thing because they hung their hat on Trey Lance last year and they don't want to be seen as being wrong.
I hung my hat on Trey Lance and I've had a few non-Niners fans come and try and cash those receipts in. But as Luke said there, Nick, he was hoping Trey would get the first team training reps. David has put he believes Brock will miss the first few games. And like you said last week, Nick, I'm on the same page as you now. You said it first to me. You said he's going to be on the PUP list. I've seen other people say that, so I agree with you. David, we appreciate the kind words, buddy.
Cheers, mate.
He's put you guys are spot on as usual. Joined by 49ers royalty, Mariah, 49er Faithful Lee. If you haven't caught Mariah's show, you clearly haven't seen the many tweets I've put out there. Do go give Mariah a follow. She's trying to grow her channel just like we are. She does some awesome giveaways, which I was a lucky winner. But because I'm on this side of the pond, she's keeping all of that one for me in case I win some more because the postage is going to be extortionate. But Mariah is one of the best out there, so we do appreciate you checking in.
Definitely. Go watch her show, guys. Really, go watch it.
Glyn has come out with Brock was the most composed QB he's seen at the 49ers since Steve Young, which he said is a big statement from him. David's jumped in with all number 2 QBs do get some first team reps. And we said that last week, David. I've got on record and said the fact that they've come out and said there's going to be a split, you automatically think 50-50, but I think it's going to be more 80-20. I do think Trey is going to get that chance, to be brutally honest. Now, I didn't want to go down the QB rabbit hole, but we're 49ers fans. We've got to talk 49ers. So, Matthew, I know you put in a Discord chat earlier that you were ready. So he's put in there, Nick, will Trey even still be at the Niners come the season? He's seen a few trade rumours. Now, the one that I think Matthew's alluding to, another friend of the show, Larry Kruger, who sports the flag, he's gone on record, I don't know if you've seen, Nick, and said he believes that Trey's going to the Titans and it'll be done just before the draft. What's your thoughts on that trade rumour that I've seen?
I've seen bits and bobs because I don't fully understand the cap salary ramifications of it because I do believe depending on the post June 1st designation, depending on when it actually is announced, depends on how much we're on the hook for the salary for. So that makes it very difficult, surely, to trade him pre-draft unless there's something already in place. I'm not really sure how that's working. But yeah, no, Ted, I'm with Ted. We're not trading Lance. I don't want to trade Lance. Not this year. That's for next year. We want to maximize his trade value. If he is going to be the one that isn't going to win QB1 job, we want to maximize his trade value to get rid of him in a year's time. At the moment, his trade value is at its lowest point. That is bad business.
I was going to say, to be fair, I put you on the spot there while I was in the comments, and Nick was thinking, you never mentioned that in the schedule. Trade Trey Lance. What are you doing to me? Now, to be fair, Ted, me and Nick are not saying we're trading Trey Lance. And I don't think Larry Kruger has come out and said it's come from a reliable source. As a content creator, he's took some of the information that he's seen, he's heard, he's read. But I agree with everybody in the chat, I'm sure. I don't believe any trade for Trey happens this off-season. Like you've said, Nick, I think I've seen at the 11.5 mil dead money on the cap hit. Jason Hurley'd probably know better than us. But again, at the moment, we haven't even got like 2 fit QBs, for want of a better word, because obviously we don't 100% know the progress on Trey. Nick has jumped in and he agrees that Ted, he's not going anywhere this season. Nick has also smash that like button, people. So we do appreciate the support. I'm just trying to catch up. There's a comment here that I didn't want to miss out. So Jason's come in like a wrecking ball, like our friend John V. Sam Darnold should start. Get rid of all the negative talk. Start him. Then let Purdy and Lance fight out to replace him. Good competition at QB. We need stability for once. What do you make on that statement, Nick?
He's right. You look at that end. We need stability. We need. I changed stability for continuity because we have still done very, very well. But yeah, that continuity would be nice. So that the receiver, like Joe said, so the receivers know what they're doing, the blockers know what they're doing, they know what's going on. The playbook isn't going to change from one year to the next, because there's bound to have been a difference in that playbook or what they had planned for Trey, and then what they ended up tweaking a fair bit to try and suit Brock's skill set. Because as much as I love Brock, and I do think he is QB1, he doesn't have the arm that Trey has. You know, they have to play in a slightly different way. So we're just going to have to wait and see, guys.
So, Colin, as I said, it was Larry's opinion. Now, Larry gave me an opportunity last year. He had me on Tales from the Bay when they were doing that for Gridiron. And I'll be forever grateful, Nick, because he stayed up till about 1 a.m. so I could do it at 7:30 UK time. He had me on a couple of times. Lee sent him the flag. He's a big supporter of what we do. It's always awesome when you watch Larry's show, Nick, and you see the flag in the background, and I think, wow, little old 49er Faithful UK making strides. But I shared that because this game sometimes is a game of opinions. We're all fans at the end of the day. We want the Niners to win. As Rob has put there, he does hope that Trey gets his chance. If he's not the guy, then we move on. But what if he is? And that's what Kittle was saying on Bussing from the Boys, Nick. He was saying Trey's got such a high ceiling. And it was such a freak injury with Trey. We haven't seen what this kid could do. And like we said last week, what a scenario. We go 4-0 at the start of the season. Trey Lance is balling out. And then Brock Purdy comes back.
True.
Like you've said, you've got a true QB battle between 2 rookies. The Niners go 17-0. We win the Super Bowl. All is good. 49ers Twitter rejoices. There's no QB controversy. That is the dream. Add in the London trip. Our season's written in the stars, buddy.
Happy days.
So,
Happy days.
All jokes aside, Luke has put there that he thinks Trey will have the chance to showcase his skills. And like you've said, he's on the same page as you. If that's the case, more trade value next off-season. Yeah. Now, David put a comment in earlier, and I'm sorry, David, I can't go all the way back up. He mentioned something about Trey, and he asked about if we had any draft crushes. Mm-hmm. Now, I'll be honest, David, I know we're in April, and we should have our draft board ready, but at the moment, I haven't got any to give you. That said, after tonight, me and Nick are going to knuckle down a little bit. We're kind of hoping that the Niners aren't taken in the third round. We're kind of hoping we jump up. So at the moment, it's a bit difficult to fall in love with some of these draft crushes because we're not picking till day 3. Are you on the same page as me, Nick, or am I just totally making that up?
No, you are there because I do have a draft crush. However, he's not in any way, shape, or form going to be a Niner. And I know this because he's the Stanford QB. And I love Tanner McKee. I do. I think the boy is composed. He sits there, he waits. What he managed to do with so few options after so many injuries and wide out for Stanford, I think he's a very, very, very impressive young man. There's absolutely no problem with his character. In fact, the guy took 2 years out before starting at Stanford. Between going from high school to Stanford, he took 2 years to go on a mission. He's a very religious man. I believe his Mormon faith is very important to him, and he spent 2 years in Brazil. I mean, that says a lot for a young man. I may not be a religious person myself, but it shows what kind of man he is off the field. I love Tanner McKee. I do. Absolutely. I think the guy's phenomenal. But he's never going to be a Niner.
Well, so I was just going to take David's comment off, but there's a nice time here. So David's put all good gents love the show. But he's also put, he could see Shanahan liking McGee.
I can.
David, El Presidente would reprimand me if I don't mention his draft crush. However, I don't know his name. I just know he's a wide receiver at Stanford.
Wilson.
So I'm going to defer to my colleague, Nick. So who is it, Nick? Who's Lee's draft crush?
Michael Wilson.
Do we think we could get him in the third round, or do you think he'll be gone before then?
A lot of it's going to depend on how his injury healed. I think you're going to see a lot of teams could be very, very interested in him, but they're going to want to know how his leg is following in because he didn't finish last year. So we'll have to see it.
He did well at the Senior Bowl, though, didn't he? I know his stock rose at the Senior Bowl because I saw some footage. Now, again, what people love about the 49er Faithful UK Live, we jump all over. I know it drives Lee mad because he's more organised than the pod. That said, Matthew is probably thinking, Mr. Hope, get my comment on there. Now, Matthew Johnson, we could go viral. So he's come up with, would you say Darnold is a mix of Brock and Trey? Bigger arm than Brock, maybe more accurate than Trey, just inconsistent. No comment, Matthew. What about you, Nick?
I think that's awfully polite. I'm not a Sam Darnold fan. I've said it before, and I will continue to say it. I don't trust USC quarterbacks. I don't think we should draft them. I don't think we should be anywhere near them. I only exactly emergencies only, like break glass in case of emergency, and you have to hit it with a hammer before he even sees the field. He's back up. That's it. Don't want him on there.
So again, all credit to El Presidente, though we will share a secret with you, Matthew. When we came into the backstage tonight, Lee sets the show up, and I'll see whether I can change it now.
Yeah.
Let's have a little look. I'm getting confused here. Bear with us. So me and Nick have this lovely background, but when we came on tonight, I'll just move Nick off so you can see a little bit. That was what we were welcome to when Nick was like, where's the background gone? So I was like, hang on a minute, I'll have a little fiddle. But Lee's responsible for all the graphics, the intro. He just hands the keys to me and Nick and hopes we don't crash the car too much. But 13 weeks in, Nick, 527 subs on YouTube. We smashed that like button. People are sharing the tweets. People are joining us from all across the world. It's great to see. Now, Luke, I don't know my history that well. I'm taking your word for it. But apparently, people never talk about the UK 1849ers. Englishman Black Bart was the most feared stagecoach robbers in Sonoma country. I don't know, buddy. I'll take your word. I'm sure if it's wrong, people will hit us up the DMs, and Nick is looking rather confused at this moment in time.
No, Black Bart was, I'm sure he was a pirate, and he was from Wales.
But he may have been in the original song. He's a minor, 49er. Who knows, Luke? I'm trusting you, buddy, because you've been a day one. We appreciate the support. So, getting back to serious talk now, Luke. David thinks he could see McGee going in round 2 to the Raiders. Poor Jimmy G.
McKee is all over the shop. I mean, a year ago, McKee was going in the first round. I've seen him mocked as low as the 6th. I'm thinking 4 or 5 potentially. But I think Stanford's results are going to go against him to a certain extent. But we'll see. You never know.
So David is all in on drafting a wide receiver in round 3. Wilson looks really nice. He loves Jonathan Mingo and Cedric Tillman. Ted has dropped some breaking news that we've got an extra subscriber. We're up to 528, which is much appreciated. And as Ted says better than me, Ted is probably the hardest working man on 49ers Twitter. We are lucky to have him in the chat. His show is awesome. Now, before we move on, pretty sure that Ted has secured his biggest ever guest this Thursday.
I wouldn't go that far.
Am I right, Nick? Am I right?
He is very kindly invited me back on for round 2 onto his fantastic show. Indeed, I'll be on with Ted now Thursday night, 8 p.m. our time, I believe. I think I'm right at 8 p.m. our time. Come on, Ted, give it a plug.
Yeah. So again, all jokes aside, Ted has been a big supporter of the UK Faithful. I've lucky to be on his show 3 times, letting me waffle on. El Presidente has been on, and now Nick's coming in for a repeat performance. As I've said, go check out what Ted does. He's awesome with his content. He has anyone who's a content creator, and then us, which is much appreciated. So we joined some great company. We're joined by Brian Culp, who I caught a part of his show at the weekend. He gave a shout out to the 49er Faithful UK. So I did say if he came back on, we would give him a shout out. And he's put there, please hit that like button, everybody.
I like that.
You like that? Again, we're joined by 49er Josh, Faithful Forever, Bleed Red and Gold. What's good, UK Faithful? Good to catch you live. So it's always well appreciated. Now, if you're not catching this back live, that's okay as well. Because me and Nick try to cater for everyone. If you are watching back and not on the live, we would like it if you could leave a comment on the YouTube. We are trying to grow the channel. And if you could just share the link, because I tweet it out at least 15 times a week. Lee still hasn't taken the Twitter account off me, so let's have a little look, Nick. See the comments catching up. Now, this time is right. We know it's right.
Let's go.
This is what the good people want.
Ready for you.
Well, the problem is, we used to be both eager to go first in the Would You Rather.
That has changed a little bit.
And the weekend, I don't know if you saw, the picture where you looking rather smug. I shared that on my Instagram with the well-known song where the songs go, no, no, no. Because like you said, you look so happy on that photo. And then I was sat there thinking,
I know.
Why is this so... So to be honest, buddy, I am host tonight, technically. So I think you should go first for your Would You Rather.
But I'm a gentleman. You should go first.
Yeah. So to be fair, everybody, I was toying with my Would You Rather. And I was going to go along the lines of the Jags game, like I said. But when I started to write it out, I thought any UK faithful's going to say Wembley. So, and Nick has been on record of being horrible. They were his exact words. He wanted to be horrible. So, Nick, John Lynch has had enough. He's decided to leave. And Kyle Shanahan has handpicked you, the main man of 49er Faithful UK. He mentioned something about you winning an award a couple of weeks ago that you were crying about, which meant you were the best in the UK, but who knows? Anyway, you have been given the job of 49ers GM. Now, your first order of business, Kyle has come to you and he said, you can only keep one of these. You have to trade the other. He's given you the choice of Deebo Samuel or Brandon Ayuk. You can only keep one and you have to trade one. Who are you keeping and who are you sending away?
You can really go off a guy quite quickly, mine, Paul. I hate you. Thing is that, right, okay. So look at this objectively. I hate this because the only way I'm going to be able to do this is I've got to take the human part away from this, which is horrible because players are humans. Oh God, this is going to be even worse because I can see the messages coming in on chat and I'm actually disagreeing.
I was going to say, if you want to help, there's some chats out there if you want me to put up. So David,
I've seen
straight away, keep Debo. Kimmy, keeping Debo. Oh,
I'm going to keep Ayuk.
Right. So Luke Walsh is on the same page as you. He would trade Debo.
Nick's suddenly thinking on the same lines as me. Okay, they're starting to come in. I'm feeling a little better about the chat.
Hang on.
But
hang on. There's it.
Yeah, keeping Ayuk.
No,
I would keep Ayuk as well. No, because you've got from the running back position, you have got CMC. All right, no one can do it like Debo, especially on those jet sweeps. It's something else. The man runs and he's got so much strength. It's ridiculous. I mean, I wouldn't want to be in front of him when he hits someone. That's going to hurt. But then you have got that whole thing. Ayuk got 1,000 yards as a fourth option. How many would he get if he was first or second option? You're going to save a heck of a lot more money by trading Debo. And I think at the moment, you're probably going to get more for Debo than you would Ayuk. I don't think either of them are anywhere near at their peak. Losing either of them this season or next season will hurt because I don't think either of them are anywhere near their peak. I'm going to keep Ayuk.
Right. Well, as Bryant said, that wasn't an answer, Bryant. You can't sign everybody. However, David, we do appreciate it. It is hypothetical. The would you rather, Nick has raised the ante, and I decided to take his challenge, and I thought this could go viral for all the wrong reasons to Mr. Ludlham.
Yeah, please,
However, I didn't put number 11 up because I'll put my neck on. I would keep Ayuk as well to answer my own question, given everything that you've said. And before you ask me yours, Ted has given the choice.
I got it right. Knew I would.
So don't worry, Ted. Mr. Hope, social media manager, will be tweeting the link out because, as I said, Nick is the main man of 49erFaithfulUK, and I will be supporting, as I always do. And I hope to be in the chat live. So everybody set your notifications for that.
Please
just
do.
catch up on the comments before you ask me. Now, this is where Nick plays the double bluff. And he actually gives me a nice one, but I can see him rubbing his hands together there. So I'm going to take the comments off everybody and give him his moment he's been waiting all week for. So come on, hit me up.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm thinking along the same lines. I'll be honest. The 49ers have been on the phone to you as well this week, Paul. And they've offered you 2 jobs, but you're only allowed to take one of them. Now, would you rather be the new boombox guy for an entire season, or would you rather take a 2-month position reporting directly to Kyle as a quality control coach?
Oh, given, I'm glad I paused because as soon as you mentioned that boombox, the little boy inside of me was like, I could see me rocking out with Debo, Ayuk, Trent Williams.
Dude, it is the coolest job in the NFL by a country mile. So, I mean, how would you not want to do that? But there's learning from the man.
I mean, to be honest, I did say to Tracy, I was looking at applying for a new job, but carrying a boombox in California, she kind of shut that down. But the fun answer is the boombox guy, because that would be awesome. But you mentioned quality control. Given the record that Kyle Shanahan has with getting people on, I think, given my work ethic, given my love for the game, I think I would go for that one because that would mean I've got a foot in the door and hopefully would lead to further employment. Because you've said a season. So I think I'd back myself on a 2-month gamble. I think working with Kyle Shanahan those 2 months could be worth 20 years in the NFL. the connections with the players. That's a sensible one. But the fun answer, as it's saying in the chat, is Matthew's put the boombox, Bryant's put the boombox, but David was on the same page as me, quality control coach. So to be honest with you, Nick, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was. When you said 2 jobs, I thought, here we go. Here we go. Last week you had me playing for the Rams, scoring the winning touchdown against the Niners. So,
well, this is. I thought about it. I mean, I take the boombox. I'm not going to lie. Like, guys, a lot of people know I have MS. I use a walking stick from time to time. I like the idea of having like a mobility scooter, which is really almost like a Harley. So I wouldn't come in with the boombox up there, but it'd be on the back of my Harley mobility scooter. I mean, that would be pretty epic to be rocking up on the field with. I think that would have to be me, you know, get the aviators on, like, yeah. Drive the players out, yeah.
No, so to be honest with you, buddy, that was a great question. So I'm just catching up on a couple of the chats that we missed out. So 49er Josh, faithful forever, bleed red and gold, put that Ayuk's uncoverable. Debo's more of a gadget player. He's great, but Ayuk is the better pure wide receiver, which we've said. Mm-hmm. Matthews put that big year coming from Ayuk, especially if Trey plays. And Jason, thank God it was just a question. They're both still grown, and the best is yet to come. Which, like you said, we said about it last week, Jason. The cap hit for this year isn't bad at all. But next year
it becomes a big problem.
Mariah, I do appreciate, as I said, big fan of what you're doing. Cheeky plug, she is going to be doing a new show, Nick, which is going to be UK friendly. Ooh. So to be honest, I'm hoping for that invite. Mariah knows how much a big fan. I'd love to jump on. Luke has put QC for Kyle. So that was a good question, that, Nick. I'm feeling quite happy. I was a bit relieved. Oh. I'm not going to lie. I do have PTSD sometimes with the would you rather, even writing it down. So I think safe to say that mine was probably a little bit more horrible. However, mine was appropriate. It wasn't just horrible. That is talk that's going out there at the moment.
It is. It was plain nasty, but okay, I'll give you that. It's relevantly nasty.
And I'm setting you up. Ted's gonna have this in his locker, I'm sure, on Thursday. So again, we just need to extend Ayuk. I'm not worried about the salary cap stuff. And Mariah, we need to make this happen. Yes,
you know it.
Myself on there. Now, Nick, you always worry. We always say a couple of days beforehand, nothing's happened in Niners land. We're not going to be able to get more than 10, 15 minutes. Now, we're coming up to an hour. I have pretty much exhausted everything that I wanted to talk about. Is there anything that you want to talk to these good people about? Or shall I load that video up and shall we call it a night? What do you reckon?
No, I'm all there for this evening as well, Paul, to be honest. I'm all out of ideas now. I think it's a good time to leave these lovely people. Have a fantastic evening. Guys, thank you again for joining us. We say it every week, but it's true every week. It really does mean the world to us when you join us on the show. The interaction we get from you guys is awesome. We'll be buzzing over this for days. We always are. Guys, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It really means the world again to us. It helps us grow the channel so much you wouldn't believe. So I think with that, would you reckon, Paul, there's only one last thing to say, buddy?
There is. I couldn't say it better myself, but go Niners.
Go Niners.
We love the San Francisco 49ers deep in our heart. Like Joe Montana in the corner, Deep Clark, Garrison Hurst, stiff farm going 99.